Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about an interesting topic, and it's C-band. And the auction takes place starting tomorrow. So what I wanted to ask you guys, if you think that what the analysts are predicting is going to take place. And then I'll give you my opinion as well. And then we further discuss in the comment section. So what to expect from the C-band auction for 5G spectrum. Very important auction here. Super important, especially for Verizon and At&T that don't have that chunk of mid-band spectrum to dedicate towards 5G. We all know by now T-Mobile got Sprint, and that's how they gained the mid-band spectrum position that they have today. So total of 280 megahertz. This is the highest money auction anticipated since AWS 3. So there's a lot at stake here. Yes, T-Mobile has the spectrum position. They have it in the higher mid-band and in the lower mid-band. So I'm talking band 2, 4, 66, and then Sprint's band 25, and the 2.5, which is the higher mid-band frequency. They got both of those. So keep that in mind. They also got LAA. They got that as well. So that's additional spectrum. So if we're talking sub 6 gigahertz licensed, well, LAA's unlicensed spectrum, T-Mobile completely dominates. And I was speaking with a tech extremist earlier. I will leave his info in the description down below. He thinks the same argument could be made for Verizon and their millimeter wave holdings in terms of showing a dominance in spectrum. Because if you're going to continue allowing T-Mobile to compete C-band, the next 100 megahertz of CBRS, then there's another 2.5 auction. They're going to continue taking the lead in sub 6 gigahertz spectrum. Significantly, I should say. Even after, this is what New Street Research is anticipating. Even after Verizon spends 21 to 22 billion and they get the 100 to 140 megahertz of C-band, they would still be a total of about 100 megahertz behind T-Mobile in sub 6 gigahertz holding. Now, again, Verizon has a massive lead on millimeter wave. I think most of you are aware of that. But which is more useful in any case? So if you are traveling from, say, El Paso to New York, and you go along that entire trip, which of the two spectrum holdings are you going to be connected to the most? Millimeter wave or T-Mobile's mid-band holdings in N41, N2, N4, whenever they convert that? I would say you're going to be connected to the mid-band holdings a whole lot more while traveling coverage-wise versus millimeter wave. So you're likely going to see faster speeds on T-Mobile. Of course, they have to add more sites, add more density. That's coming. But I'm looking at it from a user case standpoint. Millimeter wave is going to be good in the spots that they're putting it in. Malls, shopping centers, neighborhoods. And in some cases, don't get me wrong, they're even adding it along 5-6 mile stretches in some neighborhoods, and they're putting a node on every block. That works for that specific area. But if you've seen tech extremist testing, you've seen other people testing, millimeter wave still has its limitations. Millimeter wave is not meant, the frequency is not meant to cover, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles. Yes, there's repeaters. But then if we start adding all that infrastructure, then we get into they're spending a huge amount on operational expense and CapEx. And if you guys remember, John said during his speech and interviews at conferences that the combination of Sprint and T-Mobile would force AT&T and Verizon to spend a significant amount more money. And that seems to be the case. That seems to be the only way that AT&T and Verizon can significantly improve its networks using millimeter wave holdings is to invest significant amounts in R&D, which is still going on, repeaters, new antennas, beamforming, indoors. That sounds expensive. So they're definitely going to increase their operational expense with the fiber. And then also capital has to go up if they're continuing adding the small cells that they have been, additional macro sites to close densification. AT&T is still expanding their network with FirstNet, so they may have to spend more just so they can start catching up on the millimeter wave rollout versus Verizon. Remember, they only have access to 100 megahertz in the top 47 markets in the first year. And they have to fight for that 100 megahertz unless Verizon just comes out swinging and says, I take it all. There's going to be 50 participants fighting for that 100 megahertz. And then the other half of that spectrum is going to clear over the next 2 years after the first year. So 2023, by the end of 2023. And then there's potentially a waiting period for at least another year before they can roll out that spectrum to the other 50 top 50 markets. So there are potentially some hiccups that AT&T and Verizon will go through. I think T-Mobile being allowed to compete in these spectrum auctions is, I don't know if, I mean, they're just strengthening their network assets. And if they want to do the home broadband to at least 50% of the United States like they set out to do, I think they need that spectrum, especially if it's home broadband. They definitely need it in case there's an area that has congestion and they want to lift the congestion faster without having to build extra infrastructure. They just throw in the extra spectrum and the area is fixed. Instead of having to build CRAN or small cells or macros, they can just do that very, very quick. So I leave you with this article so in the comment section so you guys can read it. I just wanted to kind of give you my take on it. Yes, millimeter wave will work for both Verizon and AT&T in specific locations. But like I said, on a user case, you got to take everything into consideration. Traveling, commuting, going longer distances on coverage, which one are you going to connect to more is, I think, what it will come down to. So leave all your opinions and comments in the comment section down below. If you have been on the channel or you're new to the channel and you have not yet liked, shared, subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when I do upload content. Also follow the social media outlets for more interaction. Thanks again for watching. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.